This miner could never have imagined that his life would be saved by a rat. The story you'll see in this video happened in Russia in 1970. This story will undoubtedly get you by the heartstrings and goes on to prove that Russia really is huge. A fairy tale-like landscape full of luscious woods and magnificent mountains, full of beautiful creatures, but also danger alike. This story took place on the 8th of July in 1970 in the city of Kushnyovo in southeastern Siberia. A group of miners working inside an ancient mine trying to get the last of the ores out stumbled upon a nest of wild rats. They debated on what to do as they couldn't leave them there since they'd get in the way of prospecting. While they started debating, most of them decided on exterminating the nest and moving on. So, all but one of the poor creatures was killed for the sake of work. The only one who survived was rescued by a miner called Mitris. His colleagues looked at him like he was insane, but the man felt sorry for the rat who just had its entire family killed. He would have saved them all, but he'd only gotten closer after hearing the argument and didn't make it in time to stop his other miners from killing the poor rats. He ended up saving the runt of the litter, a little and weak creature. So, Mitris made him a small shelter next to his bunk in the mines. Since the group was set up for months at a time until the mine was depleted, Mitris kept the rat around, feeding it milk he rationed out at lunch and scrounging together scraps of food for the rat to eat. Eventually, through the food and care, the runt grew up to be a healthy rat, getting close and used to the miner, who called it Jeremy. Jeremy had even won over the rest of them too and got his own share of the food, especially loving the fresh butter and bread. The miners started treating him like a mascot. This specific mine was closed before the Second World War and only opened recently after its rediscovery in some old archives to deplete the rest of the ores. The workers were sent into the mine unaware of the danger they were stepping into, and that the only one who could help them out of the danger was the little rat that Mitris saved. Then, a few days later, the danger appeared. It turns out they hit a pocket of methane gas while mining a coal ore deposit, causing an explosion and a collapse, resulting in the only exit out of the mine caving in. Many of the workers immediately died in the explosion collapse, but miraculously, Mitris and 5 others managed to survive. They were all in shock and started planning how to get out, but the survivor situation gradually worsened as they had very little water and food supplies. Rescuers eventually got into contact, but it would take them a month to get in. Even though it was 1970, real rescue tools wouldn't be developed for another 20 years. They were just equipped with some diggers and shovels. The 6 miners were trapped in the cave and in depression. Suddenly, in the darkness, bright small eyes appeared and lit up in the mine like a lantern. It was Jeremy. He appeared in front of them and stood up on his hind legs, heading off in a direction and repeating the motion, standing up on his hind legs a few times and running back away in the same direction, calling out the workers to follow. One of the miners said that they had no other choice or plan, so they had to follow the rat. Maybe Jeremy had realized the weight of the situation, so he was saving them. They followed Jeremy as he climbed over and threw stones with the miners close behind. They reached an open space that looked like another cave, advancing about 5 meters or so. They suddenly noticed that the explosion destroyed the roof, and there was just a small hole to crawl through that Jeremy led them down. There was barely enough space to crawl, let alone walk, but they continued. The rat continued leading the 6 miners forward. After advancing several more meters, the men realized their path was blocked by a large boulder like a wall, preventing them from advancing. One of the men said they had to head back and find another way out. They had very little strength and had to find a way out soon. All of the workers except Mitris turned back, leaving him to stare into Jeremy's eyes. As Jeremy saw the other miners turned around, he jumped on Mitris's leg and started biting him until Mitris was bleeding. As he continued biting, Mitris surmised Jeremy was insisting that this was the way. Looking at each other, the exhausted miners decided to trust the rat, who so desperately was trying to convince them this was the right way. Through the dark and completely exhausted, the miners worked around the clock in shifts, breaking apart the rock and pushing. They had no batteries in their flashlights and no more food and barely any water. Suddenly, Mitris's shift came around again and he hit the rock with an exhausted hammer and it fell away. You can probably guess what happened, but the cleared wall revealed a tunnel that led them back around to the entrance, letting them out of the mine and saving them. These hopeless miners truly experienced a miracle as they trusted a humble rat companion, digging and breaking through a rock for over 5 days, using the last of their strength to escape. Mitras managed to return home safely with the rest of the survivors and all his gratitude towards Jeremy. He decided to bring the rat with him, making it his loyal pet and giving it plenty of food and water. Alas, as time passed by, little Jeremy the rat passed away. As he did, Mitras and the rest of the surviving workers got back together and made him a wooden box and memorial, burying him, saying, "The 6 men you saved and their families give their eternal thanks to you." Of course, this is an unexpected and heroic story we decided was worth publishing. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Please make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you won't miss our latest uploads.